she feels like this young mom feels like it's a sign of weakness to accept
others,
someone offer for help. And that is so not true.
It's undermining the very nature of what it means to be human, because we are all weak.
Right.
And we'll get into the whole dad part of this equation, but thinking of particularly of a mom at this moment, you have been made weak by having a child and taking care of the child.
Mm-hmm.
That is the way God designed it. And it's meant so that you do need other people. It is, you always need people, right? Humans always need other people.
Exactly.
We don't always recognize it,
right.
But being straddled with a kid or two and feeling overwhelmed,
feeling like you have to be like, I got it.
That's
like,
false.
No, you don't got it. You don't got it. Like, it is okay to say, I am drowning. And
I need help. Welcome to the podcast. We're so glad you joined us today. This is actually a fabulous topic, possibly no matter where you're at in your parenting.
Yeah, it's kind of like a re-release, but not really. Basically, we have
a refreshed, renewed look at it.
It's a refreshed, renewed look because we get questions all the time, like from young parents who have 3 kids under 5 or, 2 kids under 3 or 4 kids under 6 or whatever. Basically, a lot of little kids all at once. And they're come to us like all like crazed look in their eyes, like totally sleep deprived. Like, how do you get through this time? And so we thought, you know what? And usually I say, go listen to the Survival Zone podcast, which was done 10 years ago.
Yeah, February 15th,
which I can't even believe it was 10 years ago that we did that. And we just listened to it this morning and we were like, we were really funny.
We think we're amazing.
We're like, this, I can see why people listen to this. And it's also short, but we thought we have new insights.
Even if you are not in the survival zone, I think you actually would benefit from reflecting a little bit on it.
Absolutely.
And we were talking last night about this, and I think so whether you are looking forward and you have kids still coming, this is definitely worth listening to. If you're in the midst of it, this is like hopefully going to be somewhat of a lifeline and a pathway forward. But even if you've been through it already, reflect back on it and see how you walk through that time.
Yes.
Anyway, before we jump into that more specifically, right? We are listener funded. Everything we do at the Messy Family Project, this podcast has been around for 10 years, which is shocking. I don't think I've said this in the air. So back when we first started in 2015, January 2015, there were 170,000 podcasts worldwide.
So we were like up there.
We were, I didn't realize how much we were kind of on the edge, of things. Now, vast majority of those are no longer in existence. But today there are over 45 million podcasts out there. Yeah. And
so needless to say,
thanks for listening when you had a lot more options.
Yes, there is much more competition today than we have ever had before.
And some of it is actually good, but most of it is not so great, but that's okay. But for 10 years, we've been doing this podcast, a Catholic conversation on marriage and family. And we allowed this to kind of be born into, through the generosity of donors, into a ministry where we now have a small team that works for this mission, that we are co-laborers in reaching 30,000, 40,000 families every single month.
We started, we were just like in our bedroom after the kids went to bed with a microphone, literally like just sitting there, like talking to each other at 9:00 at night. Now we're like actually like legit, like we have like people here.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the midst of piloting the dad's course, a new dad's course called Lead Like a Dad, or should I have announced that already? Oh,
well, you just did.
Anyway, but I had some of the older men who I'm doing it in person, live in person, saying, where was this when I was a younger dad and only, my kids were still in the home. And really that's where this ministry kind of was born out of, was our desire to seek out mentors. And we did on our own, find people who helped us. Yeah. But our point for this podcast and a point for this the Messy Family Project, this ministry, is to serve families who are in the thick of raising their kids, because there is no more greater work in the church than investing in strengthening marriage and family life. And I pray that we are only one of many, but for a long, long time, we were the only game in town. And because of donors, we were able to create resources, create guides, create talks, keep presentations for parishes to offer these things as freely as we can. And there's more to come, but because of donors, we've been able to help thousands of families. We've had over almost 2,000 families who've taken courses from us. In addition to mentoring and neighborhood.
Literally millions of downloads of the podcast.
That's right.
Like over the years. And so, but the reason that we're sharing all of this with you is because we're asking for support. Every year we do an appeal at the end of the year. We get what percentage of our funding at the end of the year?
Almost 50%. 50% comes in the last part of the year.
Yeah. And so, and it's many, many thousands of small donations of $25, $50, $100, and as well as some large donors. But if you are on our email list, so if you're on our email list, we have this really fun series of emails that we're sending out that is kind of like tracing the last 10 years of like how we've developed and the different things that happened. And so if you've been a long time listener, I think the emails will be fun because you'll be like, oh my gosh, I remember that. Oh, I remember when they did that. Or we have some pictures and stuff. So we're kind of going through all of that.
I thought you were going to say that if you're on the email list, there's also a secret game that we're playing. That you have to figure it out. It's a code, if you will, that you've got to crack.
Yes.
That if you follow all those emails, there will be a prize at the end. Whoever wins.
If you crack the code, then you send us the answer, and then we'll send you a really cool gift, which we have our members kind of like helped us put together.
Yeah.
So anyway, if this podcast has been a blessing to you, please consider going to our website and making a donation, because this is how we can do what we do and continue to provide this podcast, but also free resources and things like that. Things like our virtual date night and our webinars and developing tip sheets and downloadable free guides and all of that that all takes upkeep from our website and graphics and editing and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So if you're thinking about us, if we've been a blessing to you, just a small donation would mean a lot to us.
Yeah. Go a long way. All right. So let's so messyfamilyproject.org, give, click the give button, and we'd love to count you as the newest, whether it be monthly or a one-time gift. All right. So when talking about the what zone are we talking about? Are we talking about the end zone? Is the football
survival zone or boot camp?
Yeah.
That's how I've kind of started thinking about it, because when we first did this podcast, when we first recorded the Survival Zone podcast 10 years ago, our oldest was in college, and now she's married with 4 of her own children. And I realize now when I watch my grandkids, when they come over to my house, and I will watch them for like 3 or 4 hours, and then they leave, and I have to spend like the next 2 hours cleaning up the house.
Yeah.
And I literally I forget. I'm like, how do my daughter and daughter-in-law, how do they get anything done? It's like you realize this is really hard work, guys.
There's a reason you have kids when you're young, right?
Yeah.
It's like there is a gift. And again, not that you can't be an older parent or anything, but it is exhausting.
Yeah.
It is so hard to invest in
the
little people who you're supposed to love and take care of and make sure they don't die or destroy the house or anything. and come out sane on the other time.
Yeah. It is a lot of work. And just to be clear, Mike and I, we're both in our early 50s now. So we're like old people our age do not usually have toddlers, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah. God bless you if you do. Okay.
Yes, exactly. But it is, our point is that it takes a lot of energy. So if you are in your 20s or 30s and you're exhausted, yes, you are normal. That's what we want to say to you. You are very, very normal. And I think that what we want to encourage you with this podcast is to recognize this isn't just something that you should be surviving, that you really should be learning how strong you are during this time. Because when I look back on the lessons that I learned when I had all those little kids at home, that really formed me and made me into the woman that I am today.
Yeah, and if you just set the context of when you're often having these kids is also usually you're early in your marriage.
Yeah.
You're early in your career.
Yes.
Having, again,
you
get married usually in your 20s, right?
Right.
And so you're out in your first job or second job, and you're trying to make a name for yourself. I always feel like, and this is probably true for men and women, but particularly for men, you're out conquering. Right. You're out, John Eldridge might have it as maybe the warrior stage where you're out and you're professionally speaking, right?
Yeah.
You're out trying to conquer the world. You're out trying to impress your boss. You're trying to move up. You also feel like I mentioned the dad's course. One of the things that is innate in men is this burden to think about how I'm going to provide for my family. Yeah. So if you're a dad and you're in this time where you've got lots of little kids,
right,
you feel the pinch more than your spouse does. And I don't think women always appreciate the
burden that men carry.
Obviously there are many things that men don't appreciate women and all those things, but that there is an innate natural God-given desire to provide for our families. But those may seem at conflict with one another, right? Going outside and conquering outside the home,
right?
When the call for husbands and fathers, particularly moms and wives as well, but to be growing inside as well as simply outside, because it's easier and it's almost the default for men to work with things and stuff and work. And that
was Adam in the garden. He was like, you're going to till the soil,
It's a good thing. Yeah. However, this is also a crucial time in the home. And the stuff that's going on is no joke. It is very serious and can't just be relegated to the leftovers either.
Well, the way I kind of think about it is that for both men and women, you're like in that really boot camp kind of time.
Yes.
For men, it's really at work, like you just said, like setting off in their career, making a name, like it's establishing who am I, what am I good at, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, all of that kind of thing, and you're getting your feet underneath you in your career wise. And I think for a lot of women, that's happening for them at home. They're kind of figuring out, because for most women, their self-esteem and their what they value is more tied to relationships, where men, it's more tied to their work. Yeah. And this is just psychological, the psychological, what studies have shown this, which I think is really beautiful. And it speaks to men's relationship with things, like you just said, women's relationship with people, and which is why women are better than men. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Did you hear that? We'll edit that out later.
No, there's a different dynamic. Anyway, but I think this time when women have a lot of little kids, it's comparable to like the man starting in his career. This is the woman kind of figuring out, okay, what am I made of? Yeah. What is,
because it's an uncomfortable place for.
It's uncomfortable for both of you.
Right.
Like both of you are
challenged.
And I think for women, especially when you have a lot of little kids, it's like a very, very hard time, and you feel out of your depth, and you feel like you're not good enough, and you're like, do I have what it takes? Like you're wondering that because your home.
A woman wonders that in there, and then men in general. Yes, in the home particularly, but outside the home, that's a question that's all present. And
Yeah. So anyway, so I just want to kind of say that, and that to recognize that this time of life does not last forever. Yeah. And
there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on with both of you. And even though, like when we did that podcast, we had 10 children and our oldest was like 20 and our youngest was 2 or 3. I had 3 kids under 5, but that's not the survival zone because I had older kids as well.
It was massively different.
Yes. So when you think, oh my gosh, I have 3 little kids, I can't have any more kids because I can't live like this for the rest of my life. Guys, no, you don't understand.
Yeah.
When your oldest is 6, 7, 8, 10, if you have an oldest who is 10 and you still have
little guys,
it's a totally different story.
It changes massively.
Because you have help. You have help, and you're more confident in your mothering and how you run your home. So I guess I'm going to say that, like, don't be afraid to have more children after your survival zone time, because it is such a hard time. Don't judge all of parenting by this time.
Well, it is
because it's not the way it is.
It's this confluence. And if you think about like when you first get married, right? You usually when you're getting married, you're maybe changing careers or jobs. You're maybe getting a house or apartment. There's a lot going on when you first get married and first have kids. But then the next big thing is when you have more. It could be just one child, but usually it's the survival zone that we're talking about is multiple children under the age of 5 or 6, which in the world's eyes is bonkers.
Right.
And, but you have all these other things going on where you're, again, from the man's standpoint, or those who are working outside the home, because you have men and women who are both working, but you're in the early parts of your career where you're really trying to impress and work and grow and develop, in addition to getting your feet under you in your home. And so take a chill. It's okay. Right. Take a pause. I talked about that recently in social media, but it's like the importance of the pause. Yeah. Just almost kind of an existential like pause, like look at it and say, wait, what's going on big picture with us? Yeah. Even though it feels like madness, there is a point to it, and don't make big lasting decisions during that time, because I thought we were, and again, I often joke about how it's like, having 3 kids, moving from man to zone defense, right? It was hard. But to be honest, when we had number 4, it was easier. Yeah. And then 5 was actually easier still.
And I have to tell you, like 8, 9, 10 was like, pop, 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 pop.
Yeah. and the only reason why, not that kids are ever easy, they're always work, they're always an investment, but it was the timing of things. Yeah. And that if you have a bunch of kids and you're up to your eyeballs in children and they're all under the age of 6 or 7, you should feel a little bit overwhelmed. Yeah. And know that is the season that you're in. Yeah. And then that season will pass, and you can look back and say, I couldn't do that again. Nobody could if it was going to repeat that every time, but you were lacked in confidence and experience and wisdom of your own 2 feet, of how you guys are going to do it. You as a dynamic, as a team, as the dynamic duo that you are, let alone there aren't other children to help offset all the other things that are going on. You have a trifecta working in a way against you. That it's again just. But you have to go through it. If you don't go through it, you don't get stronger. Exactly. It is. You called it boot camp, right? But it is that Olympic training, because we're not going for sprints. We're going for a marathon. That's right. But there are a bunch of little sprints, oftentimes, that we're tying together. But we do want to give you a couple hints to get through this time, things to consider. To make it a little bit less stressful. Yeah. So these are from some sanity. These are points that we made in the last podcast that we just want to refine a little bit. And from 10 years ago. Yes. To refine a little bit for the current parenting, group today, who have different challenges even than parents had 10 years ago. True. And then also a few more things too. So first thing we want to encourage you to do is basically reassess your ideals. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because this, I think, is especially important with the advent of social media and the quote, like mommy wars. I think that's really, really important for you to kind of decide as a couple, what are our non-negotiables and what are our negotiables? Yeah. What are the things we want to strive for? But if it turns out to be too incredibly stressful, sometimes you have to be like, okay, we need to reassess our game plan. Yeah. Okay. So for example, like the use of screens. I know that there's a lot of parents out there who are like, my kid will never have a phone, never have an iPad. And I think that that's good. And if that's your non-negotiable, stick to it. But if you say, you know what, we're going to allow our child to watch a TV show so mom can make dinner during this time when dad's not home yet. Right. Then be okay with that. Right. Or if you're going to say, oh, well, we're never going to, or I'm always going to I'm never going to have pre-prepared meals. I'm never going to serve my kids chicken nuggets or chicken patties or whatever. If you get to a point where you're like losing your freaking mind, and you're like, you know what? We're just doing pancakes for dinner, or we're just doing peanut butter and jelly. Like if you have to do that, be okay with that, but also recognize that you can say,
I'm going to keep this ideal as my North Star, and I'm going to like try to move. I'm going to like give myself a break right now, but I am going to try to kind of
reorient back
because
we are not saying to dismiss or eliminate or
Exactly.
lower your standards.
Exactly.
We are simply saying that in this season of life,
give yourself grace.
Give yourself grace, give yourself patience, and recognize that your ideal is still an ideal. And if you really care about it, then reorient when you get there. Pick yourself back up, but it will become a fruitless act of frustration if you have many, many, many ideals that are unrealistic. And so it's kind of like, if your expectation is that we're going to solemnly pray all mysteries of the 15 mysteries of the rosary or whatever, right? And all our kids are going to be kneeling and never interrupt. That's not an appropriate expectation to have, right? But what we want to do is strive forward, because if you have, and we said this maybe already in some ways, but it's like if you don't have ideals, then you don't have an orientation, you don't have a direction, you don't have an aim and focus. But if you simply say anything less than the ideal, then we've failed. That's a lie. That's demoralizing, and it's a lie, and it's not helpful. So we need to say, what are those non-negotiables, and how do we get there? So like we want to have dinner together, and wouldn't it be great if we had a conversation? If all your kids are, potty training and or in diapers, and food might actually get projectile, who knows what's going on, right? Maybe the really beautiful conversation that you want as an ideal around the dinner table may take a little while to get there.
Right.
And be okay with that.
Yes.
Still have dinner, still eat together, still do what, but again, going back to the chicken nuggets. Kids love chicken nuggets. Moms love chicken nuggets. Dads love chicken nuggets, right? When mom's gone, guess who's making the chicken nuggets? But I think that's the ideals that we're talking about.
Because you know what it comes down to, I think, is the stress level.
Yeah.
And if you can keep your stress level in a reasonable place, reasonable, and keep your ideals, then awesome. Then that's great. But if it's becoming too stressful, that's when you have to kind of assess your game plan.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. And something that's really key during this time is recognizing that you are not meant to be an island unto yourself.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, young moms, particularly if they're staying at home, might become very isolated and feel like their whole world is just revolving around the kids and their mommy all day long.
Yeah.
You need to make sure, as we've said many times, is push back to not isolate yourself, reach out both for friends, but also reaching out when needed for babysitters, reaching out for time for you as a couple, making sure.
Well, we're going to get to the babysitters in a minute. So this is really more like making sure that you lean on your community.
Yeah.
Lean on your community. And in general, whether that is preschool, whether that is your friend community, whether that is your parish, I think that recognizing that you're not meant, the nuclear family is not meant to
operate on its own. Yeah,
exactly. Like you need a community of people around
We're
you.
supposed to live in tribes. And
well, you know what I just remembered is that I had somebody ask us a question at one of our events, which, and I wonder if other people can relate to this. They said, I have a friend who I'll offer to take her kids to the park, or I'll offer to come over and watch her kids so she can have like a couple hours alone or whatever. Yep. And she always turns me down. And she was like, I think that she's afraid, or it's a sign of weakness.
I was just gonna say weakness. Yeah.
Like she feels like this young mom feels like it's a sign of weakness to accept someone offer for help. And that is so not true.
It's undermining the very nature of what it means to be human, because we are all weak. Right. And we'll get into the whole dad part of this equation, but thinking of particularly of a mom at this moment, you have been made weak by having a child and taking care of the child. Mm-hmm. That is the way God designed it. And it's meant so that you do need other people. It is, you always need people, right? Humans always need other people.
Exactly.
We don't always recognize it, but being straddled with a kid or two and feeling overwhelmed.
Feeling like you have to be like, I got it.
That's
like,
false.
No, you don't got it. You don't got it. Like, it is okay to say, I am drowning. And
I need help.
I could use an hour or two. You want to take my kids to the park? Thank you so much. I accept that. There is something about, especially our American individualism, that is like, it is a sign of weakness for me to accept other people's offers of help.
Yeah.
And that's just not the way it is, because we are not meant to raise our children by ourselves. Like, you're just not. You're supposed to have, I'm going to put in quotes, aunts or uncles or grandparents, because maybe they're not your physical aunts or uncles, but maybe they're just people in your community that act as that for your children. Like, or we all need that. And so I think for us, for young moms, especially like in this time, maybe like you don't want to send your kids to preschool. You don't want to send them out of the house. But you know what? If you're like drowning, I remember actually my mom talking about this when my oldest sister, after she was born, she was like 3-4 years old. And then I was born, and then my mom was pregnant, and my mom was really depressed. And she saw my older sister, who was like 4 at the time, also getting like down and depressed, because she was like picking up.
Wait, what your mom was exuding?
Right, picking up those emotions from my mom. And my mom was like, I got to get this kid away from me so I can deal with what's going on inside of me. And so this child can really flourish, and that flourishing doesn't depend solely on mom.
Right.
And so I think that's part of what we're trying to say here, is that, Mom, everything doesn't depend on you. Yeah. Like, you can say, I'm going to send my child to preschool. I'm going to send them to a co-op. I'm going to send them to a play group.
Right.
So I can get myself together and have a moment of like, okay, I need to try to emotionally deal with me so I can serve my child better.
And when this also kind of harkens back to the ideal. Maybe you looked at what it meant, right, to be a mom or a dad, and you look and say, this is what we wanted for education. This is what we wanted for our time in the home. And again, don't lose those ideals, but hold them loosely. Mm-hmm. Hold them such that you can say, but it is far more important that as a mom, I have some sanity, just some moments of sanity, and whether it be preschool, like, because earlier you talked about like the ideal of having like all these toys a certain way, or having a Montessori classroom almost in our house, or all these different ideals. And it's like, hey, when your ideal gets confronted with reality,
what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? And again, that's where there might be non-negotiable ones that you're like, nope, we're gonna figure this out. Great. Go for it. The two of you together, figure it out, get creative.
Right.
But then there's other ones that you're like, yeah, I thought that was really important, but I'm not feeling it right now. It's okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you can't pick it back up and resurrect it at a future time. But it's a matter of having that in your life. And then I think about the times when you were early in your mothering, where you had moms and tots at our parish. You got to get just even having just community around you, that it was, even if it was a bunch of peer, other moms, that was a lifeline. There was something really beautiful about that.
Yeah.
But like, just reaching out, being a part of a community is vital.
Because a lot of people are lacking community today. And I think you especially feel that when you're in this survival zone. This is when you need community. You need mom's nights. You got to have times when you get out of the house. And this is going to go right into our next point, actually. You got to have times when you're out of the house with your friends without the kids. And guess what, guys? You don't have moms groups on social media. I'm sorry.
That's not real.
No, that's not real. Like a group, a Facebook.
It could serve a purpose, but it's not. It can serve a purpose
to maybe like give you some advice, but you really need to be with physical people, like sitting down with other moms. And that I know for me, community was absolutely essential during this time.
Yeah.
Okay. So which goes right into.
So this is a time for dads to step up, right? Because again, both moms and dads are new to this thing, right? We're figuring it out. But dads really need to step up, because the first and most important job that you have, as the greatest gift you can give your kids, is to love their mother. And the way that you love your children's mother is laying down your life by serving her, reminding her first and foremost that she is your bride before she's mommy, who's being pawed at all day long, that you're reminding her that she's your bride, and you're stepping in and serving her. And it will look different depending on your family and what's going on in the dynamic of your home. But ultimately, you want to look and say, how can I make sure my wife doesn't feel like the burden is all on her?
Right.
Because I am out, again, I'm being somewhat traditional. We could have both mom and dad outside the home, which creates another layer where mom is basically working 2 full-time jobs.
It's the reality of it.
Because you don't walk away from that. It's just like the burden that I have to provide. Women in general have that burden of relationships, particularly with their own children. So even if they're out of the home, they're thinking about your kids way more than you are as a dad.
Yep.
They just are. And so as a dad, reminding her that she's your bride, and then looking and saying, how do I make sure mom doesn't feel like she is alone? And I didn't do it enough, but I did it with some level of success, where you're just giving mom some, like we talked about, pauses of sanity, those times to get out, whether it be a girls' night out, or whether it just be a morning alone in the house, or whether it be some time to go pray. Dad has to say on a weekly basis, I am making sure that I'm not taking the kids as if I'm babysitting. I'm being
your
a
kids.
dad. This is my job. This is what I signed up for.
Yeah.
We made these kids together, and we need to look at this as our role. And so taking the kids out of the home, or giving mom the freedom for her to go out of the home.
Well, even on a daily basis, I remember when Mike would come home from work, I would be like trying to get dinner together and everything, and he would just take all the kids and go play with them, like whether it was down in the playroom or outside or just someplace away from me, so I could get stuff on the table. And then after dinner, we put them to bed together. Right. Dads have to realize that when you are walking in the house, because from a full day of work, you put your hand on that doorknob, you are walking in to your mission territory.
That's right.
Right? Like, that is what you have to realize. So you may say, well, I had a hard day at work. I'm sorry. Cry me a river.
Well, but I'll just say this. I'll just say this, that I think as a young dad, I did feel like that. I came home and I was exhausted, and I felt like, finally I can take a break. Wrong. But it took some adjusting. And again, that's why we want to say these kinds of things, to realize it doesn't last forever. And that might be an ideal you have, that maybe you'll get back to it. But you need to,
of getting a break when you come home from work.
Yeah. Maybe. I'm not saying it won't be.
But this is also part of the lessons learned during this time, is we all need to realize, before we have children, all of us are basically selfish. Okay.
Yeah. 100%.
And everybody is like that. You have no idea. You have no idea how selfish you are until you have kids.
I know.
Then you have kids and you're like,
oh my Lord,
crap, this is so hard. I am so selfish. And so that's why it's a hard adjustment, because you think, I've had a hard day at work. I deserve
They call it death to self.
I've had a hard day at work. I deserve blank. And we are here to say, when you have little kids, no, you don't. You don't. It's just not going to happen. And it's okay. It's okay, because you will get to that point. I promise you, you will. And things get better. They get easier. But that's why it's that boot camp, because you got to get in there, and it's really, really hard. And you got to see, what am I made of? And I'm going to give, and I'm going to give, and I'm going to give, and I'm going to give until the kids go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then you can relax.
and as a dad, I looked at my wife and I thought she had it all figured out. She knew exactly what she was doing. And I felt completely incompetent. I did not watch children. I wasn't a babysitter, really.
Yeah.
And I felt way out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And again, I was just thinking, because I just started this course for dads. I shared this in the course, that it's like, I was competent at work.
Yeah.
And so I poured myself into work, and my kids and family, my wife needed me to provide for the family. I needed to get over myself and realize you said training ground, boot camp. This is where I learned how to be a dad. It's intense training. This is it's serious. You have a sergeant screaming at you, telling you to do more. That's the boot
sergeant
camp.
Is 2 years old.
I know. And I'm like, but they act like that sergeant sometimes, right?
Yes.
And you're dying to yourself. You're learning. And be okay with that. You've got to learn to trust yourself.
Yes.
And by that, at least part of it is knowing that you've got it. And maybe you don't have it all figured out. You don't have all the answers, but your presence is vital.
Yes.
And you need to step in and say, at least I am going to show up. Showing up is more than half the battle.
Well, you know what I was thinking too, is that this isn't just important for you, right? For dad and for his learning and mom is learning and all of that and your teamwork. It is so important for your kids. Little kids need dad play.
Yes.
They need dad to show up and be there and to jump all over them and play with them. And moms need to allow dad to exercise his instinct. All right. So there's a motherly instinct. Well, there's a fatherly instinct too.
Yeah.
And dads have an instinctive way of playing with kids that is very different from the way moms play with kids.
So true.
And this is one of the reasons that mom should not watch their husband playing with the children. Like, let dad take the kids so you can't see them and you do your thing and let dad do his thing. Because the way that men play with kids is very important. Again, like in Mike doing this course, he's done all of this research and what the risky play and
so
the
vital.
Scary play.
Yeah.
And
who's the monster in the family?
Right.
It's usually dad.
Yes.
Who throws their kids in the air?
Yes.
Probably dad. Who's wrestling with them?
Yes.
Probably dad.
And all of those things are developmentally so important for kids.
They are essential. They're
essential. Really, really essential.
And so again,
so mom's just like, close up, zip, zip. If you want him to help, let him help.
Yeah, let him do it his way. And for dads, it comes natural. Like we don't think about it, but it comes actually natural to us.
Yes.
And our kids need that. They need us. And again, in this dad's course, I've just been so convicted of just the importance of play, because what you're doing is you're showing delight in your kids. You're giving them your most precious commodity, your time.
Yeah.
And so you need to be present. You need to shower on them the joy of your presence, right? And again, as a young dad, I needed to cut work off, because this is the deal, is that these are habits you're going to be building for the rest of your family. So don't be like, don't let it be such that, this is the way it's always going to be, but also recognize if you can survive this, you can survive anything.
True.
But the point isn't just to survive, but to really thrive. And by that we mean looking at this as the boot camp. I mean, that's what it is.
I remember saying to Mike, I'm like, if you can be in a car with 5 screaming children, you can handle the stress of a boardroom. You can handle the stress of a meeting.
City council, or whatever.
You can handle those things because you're like, I've been on a 6-hour car ride with 5 kids under 7.
Yes.
I surely can handle these adults.
And I don't want to belabor the point, but if you're a dad and you haven't taken let's just say you have 3 kids or 4 kids that are all under 7 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
If you haven't ever taken them all by yourself, shame on you.
Step up.
You can do this. You're a man.
You can definitely
You're a man.
Call
you can do
Mike and he will give you a pep talk.
That's right. But it might break you. I'll be honest. But you'll be better for it. All right.
Okay. So kind of going off of that, another thing that we always talk about is so important, and you had kind of mentioned this already.
Yeah.
Is the importance of, and I think this is a man's way of leading in the home, the importance of reminding mom that she is not just mommy, but that she is your bride. Yeah. And so you have to have time alone without the children, because the only way you're going to get through this time of all these little kids is if you are strong in your marriage and that you really know each other, you have a deep unity together, and you can remember who you are as a son and daughter of God, but also as husband and wife, as lovers, as friends, as lifelong companions. Because long after, hey, we have 10 children, we have 3 kids at home right now. Guys, it's not, when we did the podcast 10 years ago, everybody pretty much was at home.
Yes.
You know?
Correct.
And now, only 10 years later, we only have 3 kids at home. This is well, we spent a lot of time together now.
Well, no, we say this in so many places, right? But the grace to be a parent comes from your marriage, right?
Right.
And you need to recognize that order of identity, but it's essential. It's not just good, it's essential for your kids to bask in the glow of your couple love. So get the babysitter, make the time,
right?
And it is your love will flow out into your family, and your kids need to both see it in you, but for the good of surviving and thriving doing this, you need, Ken, we talked about those islands of sanity in the midst of a stormy sea that is the survival zone. You need those moments where it's the two of you, daily, weekly, and even yearly.
I'm just going to give a very practical shout out or exhortation about babysitters.
Yes.
Okay. Guy, I've met so many women, and I don't know why this is, but people say, well, we can't get out together because we don't have any family around, blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking at these ladies like, what are you talking about? Like, we never had family around. We didn't live near our parents. We didn't, so I had some brothers and sisters at Franciscan, but they weren't always available. We always hired babysitters. My entire teenage years, I can't tell you how many people I babysat for. Tons and tons of babies. You have to find, this is why community is so important.
Yep.
You make friends with couples who are older than you, who have teenagers, and you hire that teenager to watch your kids.
Yes.
And you can do it in increments. Like, I remember we would test out people. Basically, I would put the kids to bed. We'd have the teenager come at 7:30, 8 o'clock or whatever. So they didn't really have to do a lot. They just had to be there. And we would go out for a couple hours or whatever. And then you kind of gradually, then you try another time where you're hey, I'm gone for an hour and they are watching the kids during maybe just dinner time, but we come home to put the kids to bed. The most difficult period of time to have a babysitter is to put the kids to bed.
Right.
That is like the third level babysitter. Okay. Once they've okay, they can watch the kids when we're not here. We come home, the kids are asleep, we watch them. Okay. They watch the kids when all the kids are awake. Okay. We're going to do the big one. They have to give the kids dinner and put them to bed, and if you can get through that, that's awesome. And the beautiful thing too about hiring a babysitter when they're maybe 14 or 15 years old, because this happened with our daughters. I've seen this happen with our daughters and daughter-in-law. They hired somebody, and guess what? That teenager gets older and older and older. And now they have a relationship with someone who is 20 years old, and they can leave them even overnight with their kids because this person has been babysitting their kids for 5 years. And they're an adult now. They're 20 years old. They're 21 years old, And so, yes, they have to pay them more and more and more. But it's somebody that they really grown in trust with. And I think that is so very, very important that we learn that we need those kinds of relationships in our lives.
And then we'll always be on the lookout for them. But we're some places that we have found. And
so you can go and ask your parish priest, for a recommendation. Is there a great family in the area? Like I said, if you become friends with older couples, I think you just look around at Mass on Sunday.
Who do they have as babysitters?
Literally go to Mass on Sunday, look around and see, okay, I see this family over here. Their teenagers seem pretty normal, well-behaved, whatever. Just go up to them afterwards and ask them. I met a young girl the other day at our church who was volunteering. She's 15 years old and she's exceptional. She's an exceptional person. Yeah. And I was like, can I get your phone number to pass it on to people? Do you do babysitting? She's just a great kid, And so those are we need people around us who are not the same age as us. And that babysitter relationship is absolutely key. Okay, I'm off my soapbox with babysitters.
Right. So next point here is in the survival zone, you need to be really cautious and aware of time traps. Time sucks. Things that you get trapped and sucked into because your time is very precious during this.
And times. I just remember the times I would get most annoyed and stressed with my kids is if I was trying to do something else.
Absolutely.
If I was working on a project, if I was on social media, if I was really engrossed in a book, and my kids came and interrupted me, I would get really like.
And you used to do some like sewing and different things early on, crafting.
Exactly. And a lot of women, we do those kinds of things. And I remember getting to the point of recognizing that recognizing it was like a near occasion of sin for me, that I really had to be very careful about when I committed to something, that I had to be open to being interrupted. And so now sometimes
I feel like that's all parenting is a string of interruptions.
That's probably true. But I think especially it's important for social media.
Yeah,
because that's something
that sucks you out, and it also the something about the digital device.
Yeah,
it almost takes you out of time. You're like, you don't realize how focused you've. Has it been an hour that I've just been doom scrolling here? Oh my goodness!
And also
one
because
video
kids
after another,
will do,
or whatever it might be.
Kids will do. They will imitate what you do. So if I'm sitting here reading a book, then my kid would be reading a book, even if it's at a time suck, right? If I'm here doing crafts and creating something, then my kid is going to be doing that.
And those are all good things to invite them in. But if
I am sitting here on my phone, what am I teaching my child?
That's right.
That they are observing mommy on her phone 10 minutes at a time? Sorry, too much. It really is. It's too much.
Well, and I think about for me, the phone, I'll just keep on that. The phone became a work thing or whatever, where I needed to develop during that time better boundaries, right? Yeah. Knowing that for a while there, if I got a buzz or if I got a text or I would be interrupting my time with my kids for something for work. And I needed to be like, no. And for me, I needed that boundary set so that I put the phone up in my office, which I might need to get back to a bit. But it's like getting it out of my sight gave me the freedom to be like, I am focused on my kids, because particularly if you work outside the home, mom or dad, your time with your kids is very short. That window is very small, and you need to maximize your time. You want to be super focused on that. And so again, think of your phone. But for me also, like whether it be projects around the house, like things that I wanted to get done or little things that on my honey-do list, right? Mm-hmm. If I had little kids, try to do it when they're already in bed or at another time. It's not going to always be that way. And sometimes you can invite them in to join you.
Our son sent us a video, the cutest video. He was working, he's a mechanic, and he was working on his car in the garage, in the shop. And his little boy is 18 months old, had a ratchet, and was like, pretending to work alongside him, and so he's getting stuff done, and his son is right there. The toddler's right there with him. So sometimes you can do that.
And again, you had mentioned this, but we don't involve our children when we do those sorts of things. We don't do it because we think it's going to be more efficient or more effective. Right. We do it because it's about relationship. We do it about tradition. We do it about passing on our culture and just sharing our presence. Yeah. So I would get so many times I'd get frustrated, be like, no, hold it this way. No, hold the light this way. Or, I was doing stuff with the kids and it's like, chill out, dad, chill out, mom. It's not going to be perfect when your kids are doing the stuff with you, and be okay with that. Yeah. But spending that time and being aware that you can get sucked into things.
And I do need to mention I hate to say this about the dads, but dads, when you're in the survival zone, you can't really play video games anymore. You need to say bye-bye to that, because like you were just saying before, your time with your kids and with your wife is really precious. Yeah. It's really precious. And so that has to be, you have to kind of see video games as almost like,
it's a pure luxury.
It's a luxury. Yeah.
And it's a luxury that only after all the other things are done, and don't put that in until you've really been thoughtful and reflective. Yeah. And I'd say this goes for golf and other things. I'm not saying you can't golf. I'm not saying you can't have any games that you're playing on your own. However, they need to be relegated to times where you're not being present to your wife, times where you're not serving in your household, times where you are not needed. So don't just fill it up and just, because again, thinking about how we were, not too long ago, you were maybe just in college and you were free, or you were single and just doing whatever you wanted. But now you're married. Yeah. Your identity, your belonging, and your purpose, your mission changed, right? And so you need to make sure your life is aligned properly with that.
And I do want to say, guys, you will be held accountable. God will hold you accountable for how you're spending your time with your wife and with your children. And is that, you want to be accountable to God for that? I mean, I know the whole video game thing, it's a big thing for this generation as video games get more and more addictive, and the dopamine hits and all of that. You got to be aware of that, because for the first time in the past few years we didn't have this before. In the past few years, we've had mothers contacting us saying, what do I do? My husband comes home from work and plays video games. And we just want to say right now, guys, you're going to be held accountable.
And playing video games with your kids is not actually giving them your time. Now, you playing a board game, interacting with them, you reading, you going on a hike, you even working on the car, teaching them all those things, those are giving of your presence. When you're in a video game, you're focused entirely on that screen. And not that you can't play a video game with your kids. I'm not saying that, but
when they're teenagers,
that
whatever.
Is not a presence that they're needing. They need your presence. And so that's essential.
Okay, sorry, I just didn't want to.
No, that's important.
You know what? I think that we just want to just let you know that this is training for your life, right?
Yes.
And that if you can do this, guys, you can do anything. And all of these things that you love, like even something like video games or golf or crafts or social media, all those things, we're not saying they're bad. We're just saying that during this time, there's something that you just have to put aside for a while, like that boot camp, like Marines going to boot camp. Guess what? They're not on social media. They're not texting. They're not playing golf. They're not doing any of that stuff.
They're locked in.
They're locked
focused.
in, and they're focused, and they're getting trained to be stronger and to accomplish things that they never thought that they could accomplish. I am telling you right now, this is, even though we do call it their survival zone, we don't want you to just survive. We want you to really thrive. And just to learn how to say no to yourself, how to die to yourself, and become the parent, become really the person that God is wanting you to be. So the monks in the monastery, right? They have the bell that calls them to prayer no matter what they're doing. They have the bell that wakes them up in the middle of the night to come and pray. And the parents, guess what? We have the crying child who wakes us up. We have the child who needs us to spend time with them and just to answer the question 1,000 times over and over and over again. That's what we have. And that's our way of saying no to ourselves. And the reason, like even the monastery has the bells and all of that, they are trying to almost like artificially imitate the sacrifices that naturally come to the rest of us as parents. The monastery is modeled after the family. We were the original unit. And this is the original way of formation for the human person. And so we have to lean into that, right? And know that it's a beautiful thing. It's a good thing. And God's going to make you into who he has really destined you to be from the very beginning.
Yeah, because our hope and the invitation isn't just to survive, but to become a saint through it. And as I was reflecting on this, I thought about how Jesus didn't, make the sacrifice of the mass, grapes and grain, which are God created. He made it wine. And he made it bread, which means you take the natural stuff that God gives you, you put your own creativity, your own work into it, and then we make it as an offering, right? And that's how God transformed it. So if you think about your parenting as God gave you these natural children, but you now need to put yourself into this and your creativity, your energy, your power, your work, so that you can actually make it an offering. And so this isn't just about surviving this time, right? This is about using this time to make your life an offering. Don't waste this time. Reflect on it. I mean, during this time were some profound, deep encounters with God, recognizing how much he loves us in spite of our tantrums, in spite of us melting down. As I was looking,
we're not talking about the children. We're talking about the parents.
Yeah, the parents. That's right. That's right. But it was through those moments that he was shaping and fashioning me. God wants you not just to turn to do all the right things. He wants to turn you into the person he has called you to be. He wants to use this not just as a product that you're creating, if you will, but the process of converting you, of bringing you fully alive, fully into who you were meant to be, into the saint God has called you to be. And this is our path. This is what we're supposed to do. So don't just survive. And be more than just thriving. Thriving means being a saint through this by creating a pattern for the rest of your life. And so look at this as a time of how can I be more generous to my wife, to your husband, to my children? How do I set myself up, not just for today, but for the long haul, to have the strength to run the marathon of what it means to be and have the glorious title of mom and dad? How do I earn that by not be, it was a gift that was given to you, but now you've got to kind of earn it by putting your time in and growing and fashioning yourself through this boot camp.
And the great thing is that now that this is our 300 whatever some podcast, we have other things we can refer you back to. So we have podcasts that we'll link to in our show notes here for like things like routines that are like so sleeping. Important. Sleep routines that are so important, or the role of dad that's so important that we kind of touched on in this. But if you want to go further, if you're like, oh, I wish they talked more about that, well, we'll put some like references below here. So if you want to kind of go further into those things, you can go ahead and do that. Yeah. But just to recap really quick, we have our key takeaways here is first of all, reassess your ideals and give yourself grace, right? Next, consider getting help because isolation is going to hurt you. You need to have community. Third, dads, you got to step up. Yeah. You got to step up. You got to step in. And moms, you got to let them do that. Fourth, get out alone together. Go remember who you are as husband and wife. Fifth, beware of those time traps, those time sucks, and how that affects your parenting. And sixth, get some, know that this is your routines. That you're training, that this is your training for life.
That's right.
That you're not just going to survive, but we really want you to thrive.
And so as a couple, have that conversation. Talk about, again, if you're either it's coming up or you're in the midst of it, talk about what are our non-negotiables? What are those areas and how are we going to get tripped up? And then what habits are we going to implement to make sure we keep sanity and fulfill some of these principles that we have? And if you've already been through this time, reflect back.
What did we learn?
What did we learn? How were we changed through that time? How did we come out on the other side? And what strength has it given us in our marriage?
Do you want to pray?
Yeah, let's close in a prayer.
Okay.
In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the great gift of being called to be parents, to offer our lives not only as a witness, but as a real offering, a living sacrifice where we pour ourselves out for our spouses and for our kids. Give us the grace we need to embrace this moment and not escape it, not just try to avoid it, and not just to survive it. But Lord, allow these experiences, these challenges, these joys, these struggles, allow them to shape us into who you've meant us to be and allow us to become your love for this world. Bless our families, keep us strong and keep us safe. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. And if you are interested in more of those resources, see the show notes and or visit us at Messy Family Project to support our annual fundraising appeal. And until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you.